Hello, my friends, and welcome to day number 45 of 66 days of data with KNIME, where I, Phil Kowalski, try to bring together with you, come from zero to hero in data science and data analytics using the KNIME Analytics platform. And today we're going to talk about a super important concept, and that is called flow variables. But before we do that, let me just quickly do some quick announcements. So the first one is I'm going to be at the KNIME Fall Summit here at, this one here. KNIME Fall Summit in Texas starting November 14th with a wonderful training session. And that is exactly the reason why I think you should join too, because the training sessions are really outstanding. Very interesting topics on all levels of expertise. You can start with KNIME. You can increase your knowledge with KNIME if you have already started, or talk about expert skills. So I will be there, and I will be live streaming from the KNIME Summit, from the yellow carpet, together with our good friends from KNIME. So make sure you go there, and if you have a chance to be there, just make sure you step by and say hello. The second thing I'd like to share with you, and I just have to switch screen here. The second thing is this little thing here that you see here. Since this week, I'm a KNIME certified trainer. And what I want to do for you, because without you, the audience, that would not have been possible, what I would love to do with you guys is let me know in the comments what you want to do. So is there anything like ask me anything, or let's say 100 notes in 100 minutes or something like that? Just let me know in the comments and I have a look at it and we might do it. Okay, with all the announcements aside, let's just switch over to the screen and have a look at what today's task is. Here we are at our trusted blog post, Data Exploration in 66 Days of Data with KNIME. And we are starting out in section 8, plots and charts, time plots. All right, so the task today is very simple. It's called Learn More About Flow Variables. Yeah, the thing is, it's easy to learn. It takes a lifetime to master. I guess that's what they say about other things as well. No, that's not really true. So flow variables are easy to learn. And what I basically want to do, I want to share with you how they work. So basically, flow variables work as a kind of container within KNIME, like a container that holds a text, a number, some kind of information. And you can prep that information in your workflow automatically and basically put it into that container and then reuse it over and over again. So in KNIME, flow variables are usually indicated by these red dots. So if you remember that the standard data table on an output port has a black triangle, like a little black arrow, flow variables will have red dots. So that is an indicator that you're working with flow variables, and we can use them all the way. And we already have seen references to them quite often in the previous 44 days. So without further ado, let's just quickly switch over to KNIME and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So let's get here to KNIME. So what I've taken here is one of the workflows that comes from the KNIME example server. And it's from the level 2 certification for data wranglers course. So basically, we will do what they ask us here. So the exercise on this one is exercise on flow variables. Read the joint country table file by executing the table reader node, this one. This table contains information about the demographics, geolocation, and travel risks in the different countries/territories in 2020. So first task, let's look for the northmost country or territory in the data. Calculate first the maximum latitude value in the data. So the northmost country is defined by the maximum latitude. The highest latitude is the northmost country. Then transform it into a flow variable. Then filter the data by this flow variable to the northmost country. Use the rule-based row filter node. Which country is it? All right. So I wouldn't probably use the rule-based row filter node, but let's just start. So the very first thing we need to do is let's look for the northmost country in this datum. So let's have a look. Just a moment. So I'm not sure why it's not working. It should be. Let me see. I guess probably the I guess I have chosen the wrong data folder here. Example workflows. No, that's not the one. I guess we find it in here and here and here. No, it's also not in here. That's strange. Exercises. Wait a minute. Let me just look it up. That happens if you do stuff live, by the way. Let me just have a look. So it's in LW, KNIME Analytics Platform, Data Wranglers Advanced. So let me I just simply copy pasted the workflow, and that's a typical error that happens if you do something like this. So probably here, and then we go into data, joint country data table. There it is. All right, just took me like a minute or so. So let's have a look at the table pretty quickly. So what we can see here is we have countries, then we have like a continental region as defined per the UN. Then we have like statistical subregions, population, changes in population, and so on and so forth. And here we have basically latitude and longitude. And if you remember, we should look for the max latitude. So a country like this, which is China, and then that's the northmost latitude of 35.862, is probably more north than Pakistan, who is only 30 degrees north, all right, of northern length. I guess that's how they say it. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to have a math formula because we're working with the number here. So let's just add a math formula to our work stream and we configure it. And it's very, very easy what we want to do. We just say take the column max of the latitude and basically call it max latitude. What this node now will do, and I will show you in a moment, it will basically write the maximum latitude to every single line item. But this is not a problem. You could say, now, why do we have it in every line item? We only want it once. Yes, that's true, my friends, but the thing is there is a way to work around this. So first of all, let us label this node. Calc northmost latitude. And as we are going to create a flow variable, I usually shift these tasks here, which help me to create that flow variable, a little bit more above my main workflow. So they branch off a little bit, and you will see in a moment what that means. Next, what we want to do, as you can see, the output here is still a table, right? But we want a flow variable, and there's a fantastic node that I use quite often, and that is called table row to variable. And this is here. You find it under workflow controls, variables, table row to variable. We just double click it, and this one will take the very first row and create a variable based on the heading of the column. So if we look here, the very first row is this one. We have our max latitude here as in all others, and the column heading is max latitude. All right, so what we need to do is in the configuration, and you know this dialog already, is we shift everything over except for the max latitude. And what KNIME then will do, it will create only for the first row with this heading one flow variable holding the northmost country's maximum latitude. So create max latitude flow variable. And I have a, how can you say that? I have a way of labeling my notes where I say, okay, flow variables are always bold and always red. And you see here what we've talked about, right? So the input is a data table, which you can recognize from the black triangle. The output is a flow variable, and that's this little red dot here, this little body. So let's just execute it and look. Oh no, what is that? It executed, but we don't see anything in a node monitor. Yes, that is true, because we want to look at the flow variables. The result no longer is a data table, right? The result, as we said before, is a flow variable. So let's just look the very last entry in the right-click context menu, variables output. And here we see our flow variables. And what is really interesting and very nice from KNIME is they use the same icons to indicate the data type. So we now see that max latitude, the flow variable with the name max latitude, holds the value of 64.963051, and it is of data type double or decimal. Don't worry about the other two, because they are usually auto-generated. But that's the one that's interesting for us. So max latitude holds this 64 point something value, and it is a double. It's the same data types. Flow variables only have that red dot in the top right corner of this icon. All right. So now that we have our flow variable, we probably can filter for it, right? So we know it's 64 point something, and we basically just do a very easy row filter, which we add to the main part of the workflow if you want. So, and how do we feed that in? Because, well, black triangles connect, but how do red dots connect? There are several options. You could directly drag and drop it onto the top left corner and it connects. But let me just quickly delete this connection, and let me just right click on the node. You see here that there is an option that's called Show Flow Variable Ports. So all nodes come with flow variable ports. They are just hidden to not confuse the workflow or to make it too cluttered. So let's just say show flow variable ports, and now we can easily connect these red dots just like we do with the black triangles. All right, and this now makes this flow variable that we have created here from this table available in this row filter. And now let me show you the magic. Instead of saying, so first of all, we want to have a look where the latitude is the same than the max latitude that we have stored in our variable. Now we could select something here, but probably that's not what we want. What we want is we want to click that little button here, flow variable. So we click it, and now we can use our flow variable that is inputted into our workflow here. So we say use variable, and there are several, but there's only one that matches, and in our regard it's max latitude, because our latitude column is also of type double. So the data types always have to be the same. So now with that, we basically focus on that one country. Very important here, whenever you use a flow variable like this, you see this little annotation here below. The pattern parameter is controlled by a variable. But wait a minute, Phil. Couldn't we choose flow variables also for lower and upper bounds? Yes, we can, but we don't have this button here. That's what this tab that you probably have seen before already is for. We could go in here. Let's just go in here, and we could basically then say, okay, we want to do this or this or this. But as we have selected use pattern matching, we basically used this button. If we don't want to use this button, we could also do it differently. So we go, for example, we go here, flow variable, we say, okay, the pattern, let me just see, the column name. Let me just see where we can. So we just select it here, and then we could see it on the flow variables tab as well. You see here in the pattern that we're going to match, you see it. So if we would not have used that button here, we could have also gone to the tab flow variables. We open up the tree by this little plus icon. Then the pattern we want to match is max latitude. And if we go here now, it still reads the pattern parameter is controlled by a variable. All right, so filter for the northmost country in the data set. All right, so let's execute. The northmost country, and that makes absolutely sense, is Iceland. We see the latitude matches exactly our flow variable because that's where it originated from. And what you can do with these flow variables is you can create, for example, sub-work streams where you determine, hey, which is the country that has made the most revenue, which is my biggest supplier, which is my longest payment term, whatever you want to do here, basically, that really enables you to store this in a box in this flow variable and then work with that. Because you don't want to go into the row filter and set it manually every single time. You want the workflow to run automatically. So to prove you that this workflow is also not wrong, let's just quickly delete Iceland from the list and let us see what then is the northmost country. So we quickly delete this. We set another row filter here, and we just want to delete Iceland. So we go to country territory and we just say Iceland here, and that's one that we want to exclude, so it's no longer in there. So if you remember, we have 174 here. If we exclude this one, we have 173. 173. So this is how we do it. We just bring it over a little bit here. And as we have said before, you usually can always drag multiple streams out of an output port. I'm sorry, like this. Connected to the mass formula. Now, come on. Like this. And if we now run it, we see that Finland is the northmost country. So Iceland is deleted. That's the next one. And we can also see, let's just have a quick counter check here. We see the latitude is 61.92411. Let's have a look at what the max latitude is, 61.92411. So that proves that this dynamically works. If we get a different table, for example, once again, if the example is that you work with financial data and you get basically different data sources every month, every week, and you want to find out which is the biggest one, the smallest one, or do whatever kind of calculation. You could use string manipulation nodes here. It does not have to be a math formula. Flow variables also work for strings. Or you can dynamically create file names and export things, for example, based on the quarter or the month you're in. That works perfectly fine with flow variables because you don't want to go into all these single folds and files and nodes and enter it manually, because that is not really automation. So that concludes today's session, but let me give you a short outlook to what we're going to do later today in the second live stream. We are going to apply this theory that we have seen here to our Spotify dataset. And we are going to enhance it by quite a few nodes. And basically, we will have a look at a certain activity period of artists and then basically see in general what artists have been active in that chosen period. And we make this dynamic. And further down the road, over the next few days, we will also make our components configurable, building real data apps. So one thing to remember, you always find my stuff over at the KNIME Hub. So if you go to hub.knime.com/covisoft, you will find a page that looks like this. Then you just go into public. Then you go into 66 days of data. You can also, of course, have a look at all the other workflows I have published. And here you find the final workflow for today, day number 45. So we find our workflow here. This is what we have built. All right. By the way, I'm not sure, have you claimed your $20 discount voucher yet? Because if you just email me at phil@procurementzen.com or just leave a corresponding comment under this video, I will make sure I get a full discount voucher, a 100% discount voucher out to you, so you can get all the good premium ebooks like KNIME Beginner's Luck, KNIME Advanced Luck, or KNIME From Words to Wisdom, which deals with text mining. You can get them completely for free, which basically is a $20 value. So make sure you leave a comment down below, and then we'll see each other later today. So I planned to go live with the next live stream in round about 6.5 hours at 8:30 p.m. my time zone. So see you later today, and always happy NIMing. Bye bye.